Looks like we're good.
There we go, Mark. Yeah, we're good to go.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to year number 4 with Lit Balm. I believe we've done something like 146 shows or something like that in all that time. And we keep on going. And we are delighted today to have a fantastic show curated by our co-host Jeffrey Cyphers Wright, including Kimberly Lyons, Vyt Bakaitis, Billie Chernicoff, Laurie Price, and Sean Cole. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll be hearing from you in just a second. But before we do that, the 3 co-hosts normally read a poem of their own to warm up the mic. And so I'm going to start by introducing Jeff, who received his MFA after studying with Allen Ginsberg. He's best known as a new romantic poet. He's also a publisher, critic, eco-activist, impresario, filmmaker, puppeteer, and artist. He's the author of 19 books of verse, including Blue Liar and Party Everywhere. His poems have appeared in the Cafe Review, New American Writing, the Brooklyn Rail, the Hurricane Review, Posit, and many others. His recent work also appears in the anthologies Best American Poetry, New York City Insiders, and Contemporary Surrealist and Magical Realist Poetry. His latest work, a book of sonnets, an artwork called Doppelgangster, is out from Mad Hat Press. And Jeff recently won the Sir Vision James Tate Prize. He publishes Live Mag. What you got for us today, Jeff?
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you. It's a joy to be here. What a lineup. I'm so thrilled. So I'm going to read a little sonnet called Yours Truly. And that's how I feel, like truly yours, all of you. Yours truly. The western sky is a blank check, a blue streak squeezed between cloud banks. Christmas lights festoon a fire escape. A grandma lugs home a Hot Wheels set. Dangerous hope limbs the holes inside me. I burn like a prayer on a wire. I'm a hotel full of surprised guests. You are a holiday, 1,000 keys. I am happy because I have everything, even doubt, crushed diamonds sifted with ash, and the pentimento of coming loss wavers like the signature of a ghost. Only this can I say for sure. I was yours. We made sparks fly from the sun's. I fucked that up. I always fuck this up. I'm sorry. Only this can I say for sure. I was yours. We made sparks fly from the stars' spurs. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You're sweet. All right. You're truly yours. So it gives me great pleasure now. We haven't introduced Mark. Should I introduce Mark or Cassandra?
Me,
Okay.
Cassandra, me.
All right, Cassandra, let's go. All right, gives me a great pleasure again to introduce Cassandra Atherton, an award-winning prose poet and international expert on prose poetry. Her prose poetry is widely anthologized and has been translated into Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. Cassandra has published more than 30 books and is currently writing an illustrated book of prose poetry on the Hiroshima Maidens with funding from the Australia Council and the Victorian government. Cassandra co-wrote prose poetry, An Introduction, and co-edited the anthology of Australian prose poetry. She's commissioning editor for Westerly Magazine and professor of writing and literature in Melbourne, Australia. And can I mention your ekphrastic project?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's doing an anthology through, is it Princeton?
Yeah, it's actually a scholarly monograph on ekphrasis with Princeton. So if you've got ekphrastic poetry, send it through. There might be an opportunity to talk about it in the book. So I think we're supposed to finish it by mid-2025. So it's going to be
Let's welcome Cassandra.
Thank you. So yes, I'm going to read a prose poem. In the deep forgetting, you take my wrists and plunge them into the ocean. The water level makes an indelible mark on my skin, a liminal place where I begin and end. You say my name underwater and I pitch pole, a commemorative capsizing of alanum and fortuity. As I founder, I see the foundations of this place are nothing but threshing mudfish. In the deep forgetting, your house is singing you a lullaby. If only you could bury your palm in the sand and seize its last breath. And now I will introduce the intrepid Mark Vincennes, who is an Anglo-Swiss American poet, a fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He's published over 30 books of poetry, translations, and fiction, including more recently The Pearl Diver of Irunmani with White Pine Press, A Splash of Cave Paint with Spite and Dival, a chapbook, An Alphabet of Last Rites with Chavina Bava, and The King of Prussia is Drunk on Stars, which is just out from Lavender Ink. Later this year, we have The Visitation, a novelette coming out from Sir Vision, which is super exciting. Mark is also a prolific translator and has translated from, and the regulars know this one, German, Romanian, and French. He's published 11 books of translations, most recently An Audible Blue, Selected Poems 1963 to 2016 by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist Klaus Mertz, which he won the 2023 Massachusetts Book Prize for Translated Literature. His own work has been translated into many languages, including Japanese, Chinese, Russian, French, Italian, Romanian, Greek, German, and Icelandic. He is currently working on a novel entitled The Age of Occasions. Vincennes is editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. He has lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, but he now lives on a farm in rural Western Massachusetts overlooking Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain, where Melville's inspiration for Moby Dick, where there are still more, and we get something new every time, people. There are more northern pintails, hooded merganses, and American woodcocks than people. Mark, what do you got for us?
This is something new. I just wrote it yesterday, actually. It's called, and it's just the beginning of a longer poem, but I'll read you the first two short sections. The Mayfly Inquiries. 1. Truth's Dancing. We danced through our magic garden, planted as we pranced, seeded, pollinated, and then ran fertilizing. The sun shone her illuminable rays, the rain willed us in her wily ways. From time to time, we were guarded. We devoted ourselves to the will of the One. In this way, we fashioned ourselves a seat at the custodian's table, never once thinking that our actions would have consequences beyond the will. Sometimes there is a dichotomy that simply can't be untangled, no matter how many IQ points have been accumulated. As our great leader once said, a specialist knows when to stop specializing. In other words, it's not about the background noise, but about that single note that rings out true. 2. The all-unseeing eye. We won't observe you, it was said. You just go on about your business, was said. And so we watered our magic garden in the knowledge that we were unseen. Of course, that year water was scarce, the lakes and rivers and creeks bare and dry. Fish and beaver skeletons adorn the shores in their ivory pleas. Still the mayfly soars above the bramble and the rose thorns. A glistening film clings to the tree bark, and the toadstools ooze and huff and puff. A solitary beaver attempts to build a bluff upon a hill, where in dawn a few drops of dew cling to withered fronds of bamboo, still towering above the shimmery dust. Well, when there's a will, there is a rain, it is said. Anything you can imagine will happen, is said. Today, on the other hand, is simply another day. And now, I am delighted to introduce the first of our readers, featured readers today, Kim Lyons, whose most recent books of poetry is Capella from Laurie Price. A manuscript of new poems drawn out of night was recently completed. Her poems and prose have recently been published in the magazines Middle-Ost 3, Big Other, The Swan, Columba, Salt, and Live Mag. She had a poem included in limited edition Broadside Portfolio, produced in 2023 by Arrow as Arrow. The Best American Poetry 2023 she was in, which was edited by Elaine Equi. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to you and to Jeff and to Lit Balm for this opportunity to read poems on a 10-degree afternoon in Chicago. Nothing I'd rather be doing than listening and reading poetry. These are poems all from 2023. Chromatics. Who can make words in the curve of a necklace, a string of them in a loop, so that an end meets the beginning, or the start hooks onto the last, in this bright light of Saturday that permeates the floor momentarily? Sentences start out of my mouth, such as, "There's nothing implausible about dark matter per se," which I read in a book and borrowed just to try it out. Ice clinging to ice in the fridge, surprising somehow. I know evil goes its way, a drifting cloud of smoke that settles imperceptibly at first on us, a sticky white goop, or maybe it's pink. I will stare through the window at the crisscross of shadows and birds on Atlantic Avenue that inevitably turns into the ocean if you follow it to the pier and then jump in and churn till you turn left and continue on. I mean, today could be a sea in all its frothy waves of unmitigated circumstance, swimming in chance and one-act plays that began hours and hours ago in clairvoyance, chromatics, and layered contradictory intentions. Maybe it's not the words that connect form, but feelings. Underneath are the dark red ribbons that unroll in a long heartbeat that woven create square small islands in between the veins' narrow streams. Bar Bazaar. Bar Bazaar looks shadowy, Spanish, old. That sort of place passed in a taxi cab, or is it a small movie theater? You think, I'll return to make sure, but never see it again. It all happened so fast. Summoned in thought is a smell, and is that a thought? Old black coats are a headless array, a library of coats, like books lined up, each a novel that starts in winter and ends in late summer. I wonder if a thought is the place. The consequences, then, of a thought seem to bring us to another place, pale as urine, shaped like the word aroma. I bring out of the closet of consciousness a black coat, dizzy early fall, rescuing a ghost, and take it to Bar Bazaar for sherry and a cigar in my other life, the one I interrupted when I forgot to write the novel, wandering from place to place, getting in and out of taxi cabs, discontinuously appearing continuous in someone else's coat. Convalescence. The crows, obsidian, sagacious, full of news, yet alert to the moment, seem to notice me sitting here on a chair as much as I notice them. They regard our segment of civilization and comment dryly on the mix of moist green effervescence and dry wither. I sit among them. The sunlight edging up from obscured east is refracted for just a few moments and splinters into what's that word I keep trying to remember? Prismatic drops. The crows take their leave magisterially, flap. We remain amidst the debris of our provisional shelters. I wait. Something else is splintered, ejected its self. By the surgical instrument's hand, cleaved, peeled, I wait to rejoin the bodies. I sense a sharp folded being shocked into projection, something like a girl ghost in a Victorian novel, but more modular. Tell me, I ask. Nothing answers, waits also, alongside. Seems to heal, bathed by various colors. Effusive rooms the mind comes into and that seep away, leaving a violet stain. Feel saturated with blueness and left to dry on a windowsill. The ghost gestures implies a suggestion to not categorize the array of possibilities. Today progresses underneath shambles. There's a long early afternoon of sameness if you don't notice the broken sounds, whole in the instance of being, I guess. Where did the crows go, I wonder? Isn't that really a wish for indication? Not everything reassembles as the previous incarnation of its occurrence. All edges tumble and flop around as the laundry did later today while I watched through the glass. I mean, the glass divides both ways. The day arcs if you apply enough pressure, which is what I should not do in the status of so-called convalescence, in the nearly non-existent moments of open reception, the way the prism arrayed its facets on the wall that manifestation of alignment of sun, undestructed pathway, glass ball, and surface. It was only by luck that I noticed, being awake and looking, not thinking too hard or too much about anything. After Billie's lecture, everything was just going along. Then poems came in the mail. Isn't that surprising? Lucky even? That there even is mail delivered sometimes, and furthermore, that a small white book is sent and that slips through the mail slot of somewhere that falls in the shadows of 5 p.m. into a waiting hand. I was all about Monday, that fake fresh start with a whole list of nonsense. Your poems arrived and it all fell apart. Monday with its registration forms and COVID clearance and laundromats and cold pizza. The book is read slowly and fast all at once, like drinking a Coke surreptitiously. Suddenly one is transported into a greater corporeality, composed of strange pictures and secret laughter and rabbits that disappear and appear. A fiercely quiet voice comes out of the ashes. I think your voice is hopeful. You make us pay attention. The phrase implicit order is in there, and I fucking believe you. Esmeralda. How can the traffic blaze away like this, each spinning object in its trajectory of nothing? This is the carnival of Saturday, where, if a duration is aware, I wander in clothing that drips with particles and secretions that eventually flick off into the receiving earth. Where are you, patient green tablet? Yes, that is the secret, but so obvious once you read of it in the book, imprinted with our seeds, garbage, and the poisonous emanations of our hidden intentions. Long may you live on as a golden tapestry of light and life. Go ahead, strip me naked. What is my skin anyway? Something like a withered vegetable peeling, something to lay down on your black cavernous bed. Florent. This early afternoon, I experienced myself as a mannequin in a tea shop named Florent, with a frail apron of orange mohair and fluffy purple slippers. Suddenly the thing on the air flies or seems to fly into the botanical space of a brain, or one of its spaces, which is a chipped bureau with a speckled mirror and slots for letters hidden in a sing-song. Wait patiently inside sleep for the tendrils of words to emerge with a flavor like anise and lavender. It's raining. I mean, it already rained, bringing strips of lightning. My very favorite word is apothecary. So I drink your elixir de calendula and look into that mirror with its rash of flecks, its gloss of smoke, and my mouth waits for my arm to bring in its arc, one word at a time. This is the last one. Then I looked at the small area of white around the black dots of 2 dice. Then I suddenly remembered a coil of gray rope on cement, maybe an old woman's hair dropped by a traveling bird or having crawled out of the earth. The poet is followed by whiffs of chamomile, elusive yet warmly afternoon. Then I suddenly remembered a dream last night of my mother, who lay with a horse on the street, and I brought her a cup of coffee in a paper cup. I love this dreamy street and hope to return to it often. Now I will consult the dice. Help me, I ask. Make a book out of the pieces of paper stuck in my throat. Thank you very much.
Yay, thank you, Kim. That was so lovely. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much.
Poetry itself is like something to lay down on your black cavernous bed. I was so beautiful. And my mouth waited for my arc. Oh, gorgeous stuff. Hope I'm not misquoting you.
Okay.
It's okay. Oh, you're good.
What's our new poetry school? The Poetry School of Wandering Lanterns?
I'm glad no one was offended. I put flying lanterns.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim Lyons. All right, now the next reader is a good friend of Kim Lyons's, and it is Vyt Bakaitis, the one and only Vyt Bakaitis. He has 3 books of his own poems to his name: City Country, 1991, Deliberate Proof, and Refuge and Occasion, Berrytown, 2022, as well as a book of shaped poems and photographs. He's also published translations of poetry from several languages, You know the story about how Vyt got here on the submarine when he was 4 years old from Lithuania. The guy's like a treasure, a national treasure. And it's rumored that actually Jonas Mekas was the pilot of that submarine. But anyway, he's published translations with versions of the classic romantics, Holderlin and Mickiewicz, included in World Poetry from Norton. 5 books with his translations of Lithuanian poets have appeared, as well as Breathing Free from Spuyten Duyvil, the bilingual 20th century Lithuanian poetry anthology, Bakaitis edited and translated. He's also editor of Message Ahead, Poets Respond to the Poems of Jonas Mekas, Rail editions from 2019. And you had some beautiful tribute work that you did with translating Jonas also in Local Knowledge, right? So let's hear this guy. He's an objectivist, launched rocket man, Vyt Bakaitis.
Thank you, Jeff. Off I go. Heads up. Time span. When something inside dies, is it weariness merely, or some outgrowth of time's leisurely erasure? Today simply appears to be as it is. Reality gets blurred just so much as the eye easily distracted. The few hours we shared in sunlight, all hours and not to be forgotten. But when they ask, what will we tell them? Its stem, the laugh, grows a kiss to share, an engulfed labyrinth we intend to bear. A searching tongue, even as we speak. You look great. You be good. See you then, with a sunset to keep our eyes on. There'll be a lot of explaining to do. I'll press on in mock Sanskrit while you babble on in French. Did one of us just say Babylon? That's a laugh a kiss can grow out of. Yours or mine, no more to be shared in. She said babble because that was the only excuse she had to join in the laughter. We have all the time, the hours are ours, while your radiant beauty outshines the sun. A foreground in passing from moment to moment, from moment to emotion, confirmed but left unresolved. From an individual to social expansion is one justification. How to bring on belief for a basic concept of justice that cults and all religious point the way for each one to find a way, wayward via extremism, here and right now their own from a hospitable bed. There must be some mistake just to lie here and think only about getting out. Uncertain ticker, or as a friend's email is bound to remind me, emotion is all it is in passing. Now a poem for the dead. If the dead would only speak to us when all the lights are out and we've paced off all the miles it takes to wear down doubt, they could sneak up to say what went wrong in the way they've left us, or just to sign in with a nudge or a grin. Let them catch us off guard when we're working too hard to share with the living the few breaks we've been given. Happier now than we've been as we hear them close in for no particular reason, no occasion or season. Of course, they don't have to exist, no, not even for the brusque imposition on a close to overwhelming relation they may sometimes insist on. Though their vigilance can be astonishing, their presence is kept a neighborly trust. When day dawns with nothing to give us, they're the ones we may choose to live with. And a postscript. Now we count days, soon the hours drift into gear, numb and absurd. The little we know will grow less. No lingering thought will have any appeal. Flocks of memory, flecks of memory for some who may show up for the memorial, so the notions of trust evaporate with grief. I held you in my arms so long, we both lost track. But then you said, I never thought it would be so intense. And I replied, you're born to it. And we both laughed. Laughter has the vigor love intends from partners and friends. And for a grave resort, too many poems of mine have gone over my head by aiming higher, not just ahead. Verse never sees trees for the wood of words, heaven only, instead of all there is for space to contain. A visionary slogan above the low-down mad ethic of tortuous reflective rhetoric that subsists on rhythmic boldness, not yet. The least adverse to cosmic release
I'm
or
listening to a
dreaming,
poetry reading, sorry.
or dreaming a dire stir of lyric abandon for an air never heard there before, ever since when I had a bride, but instead neither one of us a virgin when we met and wed. Death, I've looked into it, save the day, for it's fresh. And here's a graphic poem, which you can make out, I think. It was written for Hollis Melton and Jonas Makos when they were married to each other. That was years ago. Exhibit B, George Machunas. The photo now shows his shorn incognito tresses in street clothes and poised in upright a chair as any off-duty monk indoors with rifle beside himself, dead set, reading the ceiling, hunting God. End quotes, film noir. Watching the street pick up each time the lights change. Old trench coat himself, locked into that cracked grin of his. Couldn't care less what the news says. His feet are fat. His feet are flat, and he feels it. Feel your oats, breakfast of champions. You bet your badge, mister. Dr. X, the grim pseudonym our man last assumed, did handle a very severe case next door and now finds it hard to shift his own butt. No joke. Go on, tell the boss. You're ticked off. It's the man hours. Eat you alive. And you just double over in a knot and choke. After the funeral, I'm not coming back. I guess this is the end of it. Thank you very much.
Oh, holy crap, that was great, Vyt. Oh my God, you're such a new romantic. So many things there. You saved the day for your funeral, huh? That's pretty good. Good idea. Just don't write it down yet. Just beautiful. Vyt Bakaitis. Thank you, Vyt.
Thank you. Thank you, Vyt. And now we hear from Billie Chernicoff, who was conceived in the free Hanseatic city of Hamburg by a soldier and a ballerina. Born left-handed in Detroit and initiated into the cult of poetry in the mythy forest of Annandale. She's the author of 5 collections of poetry, most recently Minor Secrets from Black Square Editions 2022 and Amoretti Lunar Chandelier Collective 2020. Billie lives in a little blue house between the Catskill Creek and the Hudson River. Welcome, Billie.
Thank you. Thank you, Lit Balm, Mark and Jeff, for this reading and the series, and all you poet friends and civilian friends. Thank you for listening and for the gift of your time and attention. These poems are from a series in progress I'm calling Palms for the moment because they're about the size and shape of the palm of my hand, among other reasons. Palms. Look east, the light has come again, and we have marvelous words for her. We call her New Eve, a resolute knower of sorrow and gladness, door between worlds, bright stone, the one we bear in mind and lullaby in our laps. The one who turns hay to gold, the lowing of cattle to hosanna, lullaby to prophecy, now the turning of the year, now the changing of our minds. I have strapped time with its thin coat of rose gold to my wrist, like the charioteer of the tarot holding captivity captive. In what streets shall we prophesy now? Under what tree shall we sit and pray and refuse to move until she who hears the sounds we make opens her mind to us? Is there one green branch, one fig left in Gaza? Is there one stone we can lift again, having lifted our hearts so many times? This one was written after a lecture by Thich Nhat Hanh. Book, my darling, how did you come here? I have always been here, reader, my love, in clouds, flecks, and sunlight, in the indecipherable ink before ink, in the first ancestral cries of the alphabet, here in the breeze that lifts the page, and here in your hand that turns the page. For you and your gown with its artful signs and the little birds singing all in your mind are here too, perplexed as if time were real, though being in love is our only dilemma. Let us take our time as if we were time itself, my love. Let us read with our lips like children. Palindrome 1. Noon is a mystery under the linden. Aria and argument falter. Bees drunk on pollen fall to the ground. Does each thing happen once or always? That woman shaking a golden cloud of dozy bees from her blanket must be evidence of something, no? Or evidence of holy nothing, presence itself? Likewise, the bees are not little proofs, but little gods who rouse themselves from death and heaven and fly back up quick to their work in the linden. Palindrome 2. Eva, can I see bees in a cave? The monks fan their honey like bees and lovers with anxious wings. When you stand before icons, you understand you are not seeing paint on wood. The face of the young monk who tells you this is an icon too, not made by hands. His faith trembles like anyone's, and he turns again to the same small prayer assigned to him that sometimes opens to room after room. I love more than I should. My house is a tide pool, an orphanage for abandoned gods and stranded reflections. Garlands of sea lettuce drift in my tub, anticipating the perfect occasion. I'll send you some for your coiffure and some stray perfume and Mookie's 6 persimmons. How pale her skull is east of X, resting in her basilica, her left hand in Greece, foot bone in Italy, tooth in New York. But what interests you is a tree frog the size of your thumbnail asleep in an old French rose, still there in the morning, blinking, breathing, holding fast with his fingers and toes in the garden of the Magdalene. That is your testament. That is what you know with your eyes. And like the Magdalene, you have come a long way in a frail skiff. You could call a miracle with no rudder and no scale. Just sail, just to be here, just to say what are very simple things. In any case, all you can say. It is 12th night, and the fool has shown us our foolishness, the same foolishness as a king's, shown us our death, each one a king's death to our surprise. But death is silly, so we sing to our apple tree and bake a cake with a secret bean for our secret king and one for our secret queen. For he must die, and so must we, and she will marry again in the spring, and I sit and read the dead when everyone has gone to bed, which also takes place on 12th night, and I feel its quiet revelation watching the snow fall on the tight buds of the apple tree that will unfurl themselves in May, whatever the diagnosis. Whatever the prophecy, apples will come from the nothing inside themselves we call resistance or desire, silly apples for no reason, silly love, strong as death. Be limber, not careful. Be cultish, a horse, not a fable. Be cuntish if you babble in magic. Untie a thread and open a window. Set a place for the guest at your table and pray with the guest as you are able. Pray with the guest if you pray. Even if I drank, my friend, I wouldn't drink with you. It might interfere with the intoxication of hearing you breathe, or with the overwhelming confusion of the perfume of your skin with the perfume of your cotton shirt, and I might not be able to see clearly in all its particularity the terrifying and seductive spectacle of the things you move through the air with the things you say, the way the flimsy curtain sways and the sunlight behaves like Debussy, and the teapot levitates over the table, spilling its godliness impossibly, one vessel into another. So works the will of temperance, the magician, while I get drunker and drunker on nothing but being here. And all the things on our minds and all around us take off their clothes and fool around. Palindrome 3. Ave Eva, Ela, Arundel, Venus called Mary, and sometimes Christ, for there once was one word for horse, snow, salmon, yet none for the salt sea we live in, we merfolk. Now we say ocean, ocean, ocean. O Oriens who roves through morning, confounding Babylonian astronomers, and making of all linguists amateurs. O green leek, bright stone door in the wall, God mid us, forgive me for asking all the wrong questions, for not seeing that anyone's face is the answer for all the poems about the weather. No one can say I am not faithful, that I do not stay, though I move. I've never stopped loving a single person that I can remember and have only one or two thoughts to my name. I keep writing the same poem in my lamentably small vocabulary, even though I speak the same language as Shakespeare, and we're still here, still dancing with each other's shadows. Our shadows still dance while we dream. Jesus has made me cry with his quiet, inscrutable mercy, and Christ transfigured has drowned me in his bright clothes so that I am changed. I hope I am changed a little, though I cannot imagine his sorrowful mysteries, not really, nor anyone's, not enough. And breathing deep inside a flower, I still pray to the great god Aphrodite, the sea-born, fickle, naked philanderer, knower of gods and men, the beauty who gave birth to love on the day of her birth. Two more short ones. Palm is a word that grows where it shouldn't, on Sundays in the sky. Carried by pilgrims from Jerusalem, palms are psalms without the snakes, the gardens in our innocent hands, lamps and pals, elms and laps, the secrets holy palmers read in each other's hands, till we read no more. I am a prayer of unknown prayers, bohemian fragments of books and dreams, and places I've been touched. For example, Lord, confound me again with thy word or sword, thy rosy apples and all thy symbols, and symbols and voices confound me more with thy magic bread and empty tomb, improbable clothes and unlikely apostles, thy clouds, thy cattle, thy cities in the sky. Amen. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks.
Wow, that was so awesome, huh?
Thanks for listening.
Yes, silly love. I'm going to pray with all the guests. We'll all be praying now. We'll be drunk on being here and we'll be fooling around. And I too keep writing the same poem, but those poems were beautiful. They all sounded wonderful and unique. Thank you. And what a voice. Billie Chernicoff. And now we're going to hear from Laurie Price. This is a great gang of people who I believe were all good pals. And Laurie Price is also a visual artist, poet. She was the first in the graduating class at Naropa, then the Institute and Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics in 1981, and has since published poetry and made and exhibited visual art at laurie-price.com if you want to look it up. I'll post it. Courtesy of a generous year-long Gerbode Foundation Poetry Grant received in 1993, she up and moved to Oaxaca, Mexico, to begin her life as a citizen of the world. And since then, she's lived in Morocco, Spain, and since 2013, she resides again in Oaxaca. She has 2 full-length collections, Except for Memory from Pantograph in Berkeley and Radio at Night, recent and selected work from Lunar Chandelier Press, which I must mention Kim Lyons, Lunar Chandelier, plus 4 chapbooks. Her work has appeared in Talisman, I don't know how to say EOG, How To, Big Alice, Arshil, The East Village, and Fence, among other magazines. A new collection entitled These Pages Once Her Skin is forthcoming from Spuyten Duyvil. You can view her photos and artworks online, and you can look at the, I don't know where you can find that. I'll try to post that too. And it's been a pleasure to be in touch with Laurie, and she's going to wow us. Please welcome Laurie Price from Oaxaca. Laurie, did you hear me? Are you up? Your mic off? Your mic off?
Laurie's still on mute, I think.
Laurie, calling Laurie.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Do you hear me? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just moved 5 days ago and I don't know which box my printer is in, I'm reading the poems from the computer, so I might look up just to see the poems. But thank you so much. I'm really honored to be part of this reading. And I'm just going to go ahead and dive in. Okay, I wrote this poem in December, Buluria. There are 100 secret tenses to conjugate my name. Is as was, always was as is, when as now are its grace notes. With traces of vanilla, less is more or less. More than a veined tattoo or a wedding cake skirt. Bullerias turn things inside out. Hernando's hideaway on the accordion seems somehow a little more than. He smokes so much pot, he can only handle the improvised runs. Men of indistinct sex. Women and their constant mental talk show programming between arrogance and insecurity, yet a measure of confidence, come and go, unnamed. To imagine a language is to imagine a life, Wittgenstein said. When the Gitano hits those notes, the crowd gasps. Oops, I lost my document. Here it is. Blood parallel. Never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down. Alarms go off every quarter hour, reminding some to pay more attention to helicopters since they hover or sideswipe thought. Why don't I find out once and for all what's going on? Cross-examined, there's a lot to think. Blood iron bruise, metallic alloys. The mountain's iron dirt layers copper with purples, and with air this thin, it becomes hard to breathe. Everything's an emergency. The world, in the word, in the work, is the work. The work in the world is a word. Wake me with poetry. Letters trace the lost. Sing to me, eyes closed just ever so slightly off tune, as if you really mean it. On your way. If I seemed to sentence myself with gravity, less vertical than clunkage, and your words failed to reach me, or rather, all the letters akimbo across the Atlantic and down over the Keys to not reach me, well then, metal and wood. Metal with 2 Ds if they could, I'd have to bail. A memory made too clear, stereo voice, anticipation parallel with hope, a pheromone in its own right, would not exceed your belief, or mine. Let's talk about it then, about how a spark seemed to point to some future moment when, and then this is when. You are on your way. This is that day we agreed to wait for, and we did it, speechless. Construction. What type of sentences did you have in mind? All of beauty arrives in pleasure. All that passes is time, is memory. Vowels hang low off the tongue. The harsh range this light makes seeps in patches under the skin. This dream appears too early in cold winter greens, figures of speech. Light tumbles down the back stair, forming the foreground. On doors closed, a broken window. A certain August one sits on the veranda of a tiny club. It is always night and always a city. In the hot stillness of this roadstead, steam is clearly audible. Garden shadows foliate the lawn. Pleated light is glaringly obvious. Transparent forest sweeps up the center, but all too often, beauty, as a mask for much that is deadly, forms no exception. The continuous treatment by amateurs, too serious to be moved. Going in and out. Saturday's dusty syllables stir a waking fold that's intricate, etched with sudden shapes, thieved and flung backwards, and sky reminds me that no place is eternal. Rope perforates and shreds. Threads sponge the ink in my head to spread a rumor, dart in a dark circle, that surrenders night to us, going in and out, like stars breathe, and now your hand spreads air flat round us, describes what you and no one else wants to see, who don't see their part in anything. They just part the air. Here, like there's a line to link all the threads from Friday and press them back to before they began. No other reason. At that point, I should have known the transparent distances, shouldering, wanted to tempt me to betray my path, was useful, and had relation, which has no wrongful end to accommodating the work that then flowered. To enter is not exact. No leaving has less place, or where nothing has been joined there, scattering. To dream the path that doesn't narrow or possess one to the other, even with reason. Enough for all that can. What can hold the sense of the same thing? A way of hearing more and keeping. No other reason. We want your shoe. We want an adjustable sadness to cover for meaninglessness. We want to walk and drink coffee from a cardboard cup. We want your spies.
I think she may be frozen.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
frozen for a second. Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
Can you,
Leave it, leave it, leave
can
it.
you unmute her?
No, leave it.
No, she's frozen. There's nothing we can do. We can wait a couple of minutes and see if it comes back.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah, it's not about being muted. It's the connection probably.
that's
Oh,
correct. That's
shoot.
correct.
As if I didn't have enough trouble already today. Oops.
Whoops.
Well, we'll wait a little bit longer.
Trouble.
If she turns off her video, it might work.
Oh, there she was. Whoa, whoa.
The problem is you have to kind of communicate with her and now you're stuck.
Well, she can go in and come back in again, go out and come back in again. I think that would probably be the easiest. But I think we
I'll
probably
send her a text, right?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, if somebody has her text, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I'm trying to do that too.
I think we should probably move forward. So if you could mute yourselves, and we'll
But
move
that
on.
was pretty cool, those lines there. The last line that was about the spies, you know. So that was
Yes,
cool.
yes,
Good,
yes.
good.
Laurie Price. Mark,
You
take
lost,
it
you
away.
lost me many poems ago then, right?
She's
You hear me?
back.
It's
What-
been about 5 minutes. Well, it's been about 3 minutes, Laurie, I think.
Oh, shit, really? Okay. Well, so maybe I'll just read the last couple poems.
Jeff, tell her where she was. She
Oh, you
read
have to
something
read
about
some-
meaninglessness and then went off.
No, and then you went,
Spies.
you had just mentioned the spot.
Adjustable sadness,
What?
Lori. Adjustable sadness was
mentioned-
the-
you
around
had-
the last line.
Okay.
You had mentioned the spies and everyone was on tenterhooks waiting for the rest.
Okay, so, okay, let's see, where are, we want your spies.
Yes.
We want, okay, we want brunch. Shall I start at the beginning or no?
Sure, start at the beginning.
All right, we want your shoe. We want an adjustable sadness to cover for meaninglessness. We want to walk and drink coffee from a cardboard cup. We want your spies. We want brunch. The scent of your smile pains me, the royal we. The keyboard begets the keyboard smoke and mirrors dance. This night is almost young and I feel yes. I track its smell. I smell a rat. Magnetic forces, gummy shit does not fly. She said, me cago en Dios. I shit on God. I want a bottom line that's not desperation. This vulgar night sentinel. It's passing traffics. Okay, this next poem is longer, and it came about because I was Googling some symptoms and found something called Poems syndrome on the Mayo Clinic website. It's a rare blood disorder that damages your nerves and affects other parts of your body. Poems syndrome. Sky striates in shades of salmon and earth pink, while tin roof percusses under sunshower. Neighbors blast romantic Mexican tunes across the hollow, which intensify with the sky's deepening. Coffee is good and strong, everything I couldn't feel since before yesterday. Music inside is shrill in that avant-garde way where a violin shows off its modulations and tones, makes a moment last an hour. It's the computer radio, not my mind ear. Is it good or just a space filler? I review this question and inspect lines on a page. My cat sleeps because my bed is sumptuously comfortable, and this weather begs her to stay put. I was there until I popped awake with a sudden desire for coffee and to work, but I can't bear it. I can't bear how askew my synapses are this morning. The nervous system signs in its own language. Thrum of vitriol and vitality clock in at rounds. Temperature responds to ambition, waxes warm when elocution bears empathy, goes silent when the mind, and therefore all other parts, is incapable of integration. The stuck out, sticking out thing begs attention. Poem syndrome occurs 1.5 times more frequently among men than women. The typical age of poem syndrome onset is adults in their 50s, and the disorder is chronic. Helter-skelter thoughts ramble at will. Poets are particularly susceptible to contracting it, of course, and can, also at will, pass it to others. Think of an exquisite corpse, each section unknown to the next recipient, hidden in folded secret. You might have a fever. The fever might rise to such a high temperature that it shreds the immune system, darkens and thickens the skin, eliminates diffidence, produces excessive hair growth. Male pattern baldness and lack of ambition are things of the past, or so it might seem. Some reactions are static, how to move forward with no desire to do so. I am generally not susceptible to such meanderings, but I display or express a reluctance to display or express. Swope rhymes with hope, but the resemblance ends there. Swope is a person who loves haters. Swope is when you are the shit and you know it and don't give a fuck. It's when all you do is win. Swope, so outside my scope. Poem syndrome doesn't bring relief or clever phrases. The head doesn't swell, yet the neck becomes a stump where individual words can be stacked while they wait consideration. There is no issue that won't benefit from empathy. M, Greek for in, path, sometimes strewn with rose petals, mostly not. Y is and in Spanish, empathy. Sometimes what's hard to know is what's esoterically buried or hidden, or maybe a synapse that's lodged cold, starts to singe its own edges, not unlike paper magnet sun, but for the 100th time, there is no time like the present, no time at all, equivalent to what's been frozen. Or a feeling begets a wish to know more, to investigate, but not interrogate the preceding impulse that came from nowhere, like nothing. A vector, I submit to some territorial pull forward, an inclination or inkling that does not present itself, but suddenly, I cannot say this word, vertiginously, the world begins to spin and stays within the range of low thrum for weeks. Centrifugal cogency intervenes. I walk through a bramble of roots and vines towards a water source. The air ribbons through this stuff and carries earth, dust. Insect wings fall away on the breeze. I have everything I need. And I'm going to end with a poem I just wrote yesterday. Such loves live. High notes foreground grand struggles, a geologic quest or guided narrative, but resolves scratch at their own thrust, neither lyric nor heartbroken. No, the all here, all the time conscience behind such loves lives, is epic, makes the man at the next table shake with laughter and a hysteria all his own. I can play with that later, I think. It's just enough to enthuse the imagination. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laurie, and I'm so glad that we managed to get you back as well.
Yeah, I had no idea because I was looking at my Word document.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you.
Oh,
It only
Mark,
took 45 minutes for me to get in, but never mind. So nice to see you. And so good
likewise.
to hear you.
Wow.
All
Wow.
right, so we're now going to hear our last featured reader today, who is Sean Cole. He's the author of After These Messages with Lunar Chandelier Press, as well as several chapbooks. His poems have appeared in the Brooklyn Rail, Black Clock, Court Green, Pavement, Saw, Boog City, and many other journals. He's a producer and occasional guest host of the public radio show and podcast, This American Life. Welcome, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Wow, what an incredible reading to be part of. Thank you so much, Laurie. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Vyt. Thank you, Kim, for those gorgeous readings. And thanks to Jeff and Mark and Cassandra for having me. I do sort of daily poems sometimes with my friend David Kirschenbaum. We'll pick a month and we'll send poems back and forth every day. So I'm going to read a few of those. These first two are from December 2021. Everybody can hear me okay? Okay, great. December 20th. I'm going to think about moose tonight and their aggressive mousiness. They hate to mess around due to hip dysplasia, at least the ones I've seen. Okay, the one I've seen, and okay, it was Canadian, what else? This year, I'm 90 in hip years and 17 in moose years. We trundle rocky paths in city parks, our ears cauliflowering. We hear all, and hear moose especially, no matter where they are, with our spider hearing. There are 10 moose in the woods standing one behind the other, so it looks like one moose. What do they write about in their borrowed moleskins? I saw one smoking once and another chomping nutmeg. We were told in high school, chew nutmeg and you'll hallucinate. Of course, moose would need a bunch more than us and probably just become sullen. The thing moose hate the most is when you decorate them for the holidays. Like I'm here all eating try again popcorn, that is hoarded kernels from the bottom of the Orville bag reheated, listening to Miles Davis and enjoying the Christmas fuck out of myself, while also thinking, wouldn't a moose with cheeks for roses and a crush of tinsel in his antlers be just the best now to waltz through? And duh, no wonder they're hostile. Noiselessly hostile. Moose hate us, and they also hate merrymaking. They're not mirthful. And we're always trying to mash mirth into their fronts. They've had enough. No wonder they're hecked in the hip flexors. You think that they got to be that hobbled on their own? Are you high? December 28th. When you told me you didn't need me anymore, you know, I nearly broke down and cried. Nearly. I never fully broke down, just teared up, kind of. I mean, my eyes got moist and there was a choke, a catch, like an engine lurching, and you think, oh no, but then it turns over and everything's fine, which is to say I am. Fine, I mean. When you said that, I got sad and could have wept. I didn't, but was weep adjacent, sob possible even, which counts for something, yeah. I mean, must you enumerate my tears? Ought there be, say, 96 of them? I dasn't ask that, but see, I could have kept quiet and never told you about the near tear I shed, but didn't, because I still can't make it alone. I mean, mostly can't. I'll cry if you want or if I want to, but just to note the proximate edge of emotion I danced along like a bent angel churlishly tracing the oval of over. i.e. your lawn bowling towards some ending of us, that overture. Do what thou wilt, but I'm over here almost losing it and need, at least glancingly, to be unalone. And this is from October 2022. The parameters that month were just be about Brooklyn, and they were epistolary poems or letters. Dear Joel Oppenheimer, the only thing I know about the New York Mets is that you loved them. You and Colin Quinn's character in Trainwreck, who called them the Metropolitans. I thought that was funny. I love listening to my memory of Lyman Gilmore describe your living room sorcery for them, switching off the TV set, turning on the radio instead, sex with the missus to ensure a grand slam in some crucial inning or other. I do that kind of hoodoo too, but more offhanded for less formal teams. You wrote The Wrong Season about their worst year, a book I've yet to crack past its foreword. I'm sure my lock is in those pages somewhere, waiting, but I'm Mr. Saturday when it comes to even low hurdles. I think you can relate. So far, I've only read the part of Don't Touch the Poet where you die, lying in an at-home one-man MASH unit in New Hampshire, your son's around. I flashed to one of them cuddling your sudden crypt, but that was me, holding Ed's dead body on Cape Cod, his neck not even releasing to the failed pillow. Ed was born the same year you were, spent a little time in New York. I wonder if you ever passed baskets near Columbia. He didn't get to Brooklyn, I don't think. Never came to see me here. Wasn't that he didn't care, he just stopped leaving. Every day a home advantage. I have no club but him, and you by parallel, and so the Mets, I guess, by proxy. Only saw them once in Boston and rooted for the Sox. You'd have liked that team that year. All the fur and odd success. Who'd have thought I'd end up here, in our empire's underdog house, up late, rooting. And then this last one's a little bit longer. I wrote it for my best friend, Aaron, for his 50th birthday. And essentially, I wrote a line of a poem on his birthday and taped it to a postcard and sent it to him. And then for the next 50 days, you know, it was a line, like I did that for the next 50 days, one line on a postcard, sent it to him. And discovered his birthday's September 30th. So I discovered by doing that, there are exactly 50 days between his birthday and my birthday, which is November 19th. That's when I learned that. So this is a 50-line poem. And it's just called Poem for Aaron Seven Kiley. It's his middle name, Seven. Poem for Aaron Seven Kiley's 50th birthday. 1, who is the 50th president of the United Lattes of Unmerica? 2, we're 5-0 out here for sanity knuckles, them, us. 3, who knows, maybe half a century is enough to need no more joy nor kale. 4, I'd like to subsist on only prism water, but a 25-year-old told me that wasn't a thing anymore. 5, if I could only yellow your 50 hemlock beads away from you, that would be government. 6, amber berries glistening from a limb at dusk, the L in glisten going Roman. 7, sometimes I count down from 10 to 5 and then back up again like a stuck Clark. 8, others are the hell in hello. I've run out of years to be that gentle in. 9, what time do you have on your Casio watch? I asked Cassandra. 10, 50, she said, then dropped dead, because the sky was fallible and no scaffold. 11, in New York, these rank ceilings stay up a semillennium. 12, we call it GFC, Grand Firmament Cancellation, when they topple. 13, you thought GFC stood for Godforsaken City, Itty, didn't you? 14, every school grader knows New York times 50 is 50. 15, this blues lyric landed on my eyelid last night. 16, wait a minute, I'm in love, shin to shoulder with the devil above. 17, wasn't that a man? Didn't you whistle with the 50th among us, Itty? 18, I want to get high, I want to get high, I want to get high. 19, sometimes it's 2 sentences per iamb, sometimes 1, which is this. 20, that's a quiz, Itty. Here's another. I'm trying to wire 100 drachmas times half. 21, how many point guards do I have to bundle in my tool shed to please Caesar? 22, I'd like to be your baby doll, but only a little. 23, and only when there's 50 of you, nesting in your itty candle selves. 24, this is what the government had for breakfast this morning. 25, egg waffles, Argentine dementia butter, and xenophobia. 26, I guess I'll take half 100 leftovers for 50, Alex. 27, that would be so half 100 if you avered breakfast bested lunch. 28, you're not gonna aver that, are you, itty? 29, sometimes it's 2 50s per drachma, sometimes none. 30, I live on a fake road. 31, it curls like an Ouroboros in the outer boroughs. 32, my building, 943, can be broken down like this. 33, 9 plus 4 plus 3 is 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. 34, 7 is the middle of your dulcet ID, oh my itty. 35, have I thoughts of you? Yes, 50, but no more than that and concurrent. 36, one thought can build from 50 parts, just like one star can have 50 points. 37, especially Carol Channing. She made a lot of points. 38, chief among them, female people have intimate acquaintance with pressurized coal. 39, my name is not James. 40, I'm a yet quadragenarian acolyte of the deeply Pentecostal. 41, if you punch me in the tinkle snake, I may break. 42, my middle has a button that we use to call the bellyvator. 43, 50 floors from top to till and a spire lifting off my patent pending. 44, we light our spires to hail America, of wee sing. 45, I just said wee, he, ha ha, da, das vidanya. 46, I'm still a 15-year-old hypocrite inside a paunchy sleeve. 47, I work for the 50th estate, an annual penned by one person and read by one other. 48, the fingers on my hand each have 10 questions for the eternal ghost. 49, many are when questions, some end mid-lake unpunctuated. 50, this is the 50th thing I've thought today and the most salient. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. What a wonderful reading today. And I'd like to thank all of you, particularly Kimberly, Vyt, Billie, Laurie, and Sean for this amazing reading. Just to let you guys know, our next show is on February 3 with Amit Mujmadar, Alexis Seals, Ryan Wilson, Daniel Tobin, and Matthew Cooperman. So please join us for that. In the meantime, I'm going to pass the mic over to Cassandra to see who we have reading on the open mic tonight.
And one more, and while you're all here too, on the 10th of February, we also have another reading, and that's the one that I was trying to remember before with Nada and Jordan Davis, Lydia Cortez, Don Yordi, and Prince McNally on the 10th of February. All right, everybody. And Cassandra.
Amazing. I think Lydia was here too. I saw her in the room. Yep, it's going to be a brilliant open. Thanks for the features. They're amazing and what a great crowd. But we always start our open with John Wombat Wessick, who always surprises us when I think I've got a handle on what he might do. He goes in a different direction. So John, what have you got for us?
Well, this is the opening to the story I threatened you about last time. So it's called The Spokescritter Killings. Detective Dirk Wagmore dumped his coffee cup in the trash before donning nitrile gloves. The forensics team had been on site long enough to wiggle into their bunny suits, cover the body, and cordon off the area with police tape. Victim's some kind of cartoon rodent, his partner said. Fishermen found him floating in the river and called it in. Detective Liz Torres wore a jacket that covered the 1911 pistol chambered in 10 millimeters she wore on her hip, but nothing could cover her disdain for Mexican food. It didn't take Dr. Freud to realize that the heiress to the Guillermo's taco empire had daddy issues. The police academy was her way out of a life of carne asada and refried beans. Once she got her badge, she never looked back. Victim has no ID, but from the animation style, I'd guess he was in his mid-40s. What do we have, Joyce? Wagmore asked the coroner, kneeling by the body. Choked to death on a 42-ounce canister of oatmeal. Dr. O'Brien pulled back the sheet to expose the rodent's face and neck. Bruising indicates it was forced down his throat. Lack of swelling means it can't have been in the water too long. Open sores and bleeding gums indicate the victim had diabetes. Finding his identity is going to be tough. Cartoons don't have fingerprints. I'm not sure about DNA and dental records. We might try to run the ink through a gas chromatograph. You must not have watched Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s, Wagmore said. That's Lenny, the cornflake chipmunk. He was always running scams to get breakfast that rodents weren't supposed to have. Looks like we've got ourselves. Don't say it, Wagmore. Torres put her fingers in her ears. A serial killer. The demon Mephistopheles appeared in the scholar's study. What is your wish? That you will provide me with Bruckner's cornflakes as long as I live. The disguised Lenny the Chipmunk closed a leather-bound book of spells. I am a servant of great Lucifer, and may do nothing without his command. And what would convince Lucifer to command thee? Your immortal soul. I would be damned 1,000 times for just one bowl of Bruckner's cornflakes, Lenny replied. Then sign this contract in blood. Mephistopheles handed Lenny a parchment and a blade to nick his finger. Woo! Lenny ran around the study and his robe fell off, revealing a rodent body. Foolish chipmunk, cornflakes are for humans. Mephistopheles disappeared in a puff of smoke. Bruckner's cornflakes, so tasty you'll sell your soul for just one bite, the announcer said. That's one of the tamer ones. Captain Barkless turned off the VCR. No doubt Lenny made a lot of enemies with the Decency Council. Start by interviewing people who knew him. Got it, Captain. Wagmore and Torres left Barkless's office. And I'll stop there, and we'll post a link to the story on Horror Sleaze Trash, because it's not every day you get a story published in Horror Sleaze Trash.
That's wonderful. It's a cliffhanger. You need to let us access the rest so we can read the rest, because I'm getting hungry with all the taco empires and cornflake chipmunks. It's amazing. Your brain is amazing. Next, we have Joe Safdie. Joe, we love you on the open. What have you got for us?
Hi, Cassandra and friends. I just want to read a few scraps from a manuscript that is proceeding by fits and starts, as manuscripts do. This first part is recalls a study of William Blake that several colleagues of ours here at the moment have been participating in. The fallen world now, without poetry, without wanting to write poetry, division between subject and object, absolute. Intuitive vision, now closed, now panic and secrecy and fear. Bill and Kate freezing before the fire. Selfhood and the world too much with us. Self-consciousness, but never conscious. Learning how to read. Stultifying influence of print. Loving stories read out loud. So,
Thank you. That was amazing. Self-conscious, but never conscious. That's awesome. Thank you so much. We enjoy you reading every time. So we look forward to you coming again. Linda, down the road in the Shire, I believe. What have you got for us?
Okay, this is a new one, and it's a early iteration, so I don't know how much it will change, but we'll try it. We pivot. We pivot, scrape the scarred pavement, not the same as scoring one's initials in a tree's bark or embedding them in beach sand, more like spraying graffiti across an overpass. The fear of high tide, its ability to wipe out our identity in seconds, is as fragile as life itself. A mermaid camouflages herself where conches lie on ocean's floor. She yearns for recognition and identity. We pivot, scrape the grass and dandelion leaves under our soles as if shoes mattered at all. Our bare feet will unveil our footprints. Like initials whittled in wood become weathered, smoothed, till they are indecipherable. The letters we write share their meaning, not our identities, but the peace we crave, not carve. If we pivot once, we have exhausted our message. So at the end of our days, when we no longer have anything left to say, what we did say is history more than archaeology, more than dinosaur prints. Poets will leave their blood, their dripping tears, their beliefs on paper, akin to hieroglyphics, prehistoric cave sketches. When our words have become extinct, what remains becomes the final pivot. Thank you.
Wow, what an end. And how good's the mermaid? Mermaid's my favorite bit. I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much, Linda. Next,
Thank
we
you.
have Maria. Maria, what have you got for us this week?
I'm muted. Okay, I have something a little bit new. I'm going to try it on humans. Okay. I fell for it the minute I saw it with a little help from my youngest sister, who didn't hesitate to point it out. The cranberry Toyota, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, like the perpetual reds we wear on our lips now, striving to perk up olive skin tones, growing more and more sallow with age. Compare lipsticks matte or glossy for older lips that have lost definition as creeping feathered lip lines or creases slip in the edges of one's pouty, fleshy, sexy, come-on mouths. And so Google will steer us to why these things happen, from sipping through straws, from smoking, from bad living and the loss of collagen. Talking and smiling exacerbate the lines, chastens lip volume, but life without talking or smiling is hardly worth living. Toss out the die-hard youth-driven images of faces without wear, faces so clean and polished, there's been no living, no anger, no passion, just sheer polish, white, pure, untouched, virginal to the vicissitudes of life. Skin folds and creases as we sleep. Should we stay awake to watch the show to avoid the inevitable, to banish lip wrinkles and lines, plump them up vertically, horizontally, or exfoliate, scrub the fine, satiny surface of our lips with hyaluronic acid, peptides, and antioxidants, or better yet, kiss the person next to you. Make sure it's not a man baby who won't appreciate the gesture, no matter the social disorder and havoc you will wreak, because at a certain moment, the world is no longer watching you. You will replenish moisture, passion, and the need to throw your head back and laugh your lips off. Thank you.
Awesome. You should try more out on humans. That was fabulous. I don't think I have ever read a poem about lip wrinkles, and I adore it. So yeah, absolutely loved
Because
it.
you're too young.
Oh no, I am older than I seem. I have my mat in place. Lots of lip wrinkles, but just hide them well. Maybe you've maybe changed my mind. Maybe I should expose my lip wrinkles. Karen, you can have something wonderful for us, whether it's blue crayon skies or who knows what from your magical mind. Karen.
Hi, I'm going to read a fairly short prose poem. It's called After. On heading out, I was only interested in a next I couldn't envision but wanted. There was a fog I had to pass through, a wall with pictographs I couldn't decipher, a darkness I avoided. A book caught me in the eye. I didn't turn down any corner. When I couldn't undo the lengthening tether, I tore it in two. My half trailed almost to the ground. Later, I used it to make a lariat, to catch what was left of what I had left, drag it all back. A girl I barely remembered came with it.
Wow, that's fabulous. I love the idea of a next, focusing on the next. Thank you. Really visual and gorgeous. And now we have our final duo to end our Lit Balm open mic. We have badass Cindy Hockman. Cindy. You're up.
I've got a very new poem to newborns. It's only a week old. It's I don't think it's very good, but the good news, it's only 3 lines. So I think I'm going to be shorter than Bob's, who's always short. But I think this is actually relevant for Zoom. It's called Domicile or Lost. Have you ever felt like you were searching for home, even when you were already there? And I'm here. Thank you.
Nice. I love that. I love the sense of the uncanny. Always into a bit of home and where it is. Thank you, Cindy. Last we always have Bob very last, because he ends the open mic with some little morsel that we can all take away and think about. And sometimes it's very quirky. Sometimes it's a song. He might tap dance for us this week. Bob, what have you got?
Thank you. This is an older poem that somehow seems appropriate to our times. Coda. And they lived inside of a little room where the waves didn't come and the wind didn't blow. And all around at all the windows, little faces peered inside. And there were no voices and no songs. And outside behind the faces, something strange was happening to the sky. And night came into the little room. And all the faces let out a silent sigh. And it was over, all of it. And even the air itself began to die.
Wow. And that's why Bob ends the open, because that's who he is as a poet. He's incredible. So may your air not die over the next 24 hours. Mark, back to you.
Well, what can I say? What a reading tonight. Thank you so much again, Kimberly, Vyt, Billie, Laurie, and Sean. Thank you, Jeff, for corralling these guys together and giving us a wonderful reading tonight. And once again, don't forget, next show is Amit Majumdar, Alexis Seals, Ryan Wilson, Daniel Tobin, and Matthew Cooperman. So please do join us for that. To cap it off today, kind of in the mood of things, here's a new poem of mine called A Post-Metaphysical Being. A post-metaphysical being surfaces again, but only in twilight, or betwixt the flight of the star-billed few. And in uneven Hollywood years, there is a brief pause, and in the cold morning, when the concrete sets on the high-rise of the skyscrapers, we renounce the resplendent few with their helicopter views and their broad-handed side glance into the original embers. First things first. Who, after all, wants to remain in your eternal memory? Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful, wonderful reading, and hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Lots of love and poetry. See you soon.
Yeah.